What is your Tinder horror story? Part 2. I met up with this guy I had been talking to a few weeks. Tall, dark and handsome, originally from Turkey, world traveler, etc. Anyway, we meet up for sushi and things are going great. Tons of stuff in common, and then it was like a psycho switch flipped. He started talking about how, now that we were going out, I couldn't wear nail polish because he got weirded out holding hands with someone who wore nail polish, and how he wanted to have a daughter, but freeze her in time at the age of 4, so that she'd always be a daddy's girl, and love him forever, and how when we got old we'd have to have sex with the lights off, since I'd be wrinkly and unattractive, and just went on and on. I literally just stared at him speechless, and tried to get through the date expecting, at the very least, a free meal. But no free meal. In fact, more expensive meal. This guy had the nerve to ask the waitress to split the check when he ordered twice what I had. We paid. I stormed out and never talked to him again. This was back when Tinder first came out and wasn't quite as known as a hookup app. We met and had a great first date. Second date was even better. Things kept going for about 2 months when she told me she went out with me originally in an attempt for a dinner with schmucks type thing where her and all her friends would bring the worst Tinder date. We both really liked each other, but I couldn't get over how we started. I messaged a cute blonde girl one day, got a response, and after a while of back and forth making each other laugh and getting along, I mention I'm in a wheelchair, and suddenly she was losing her mind talking about our future and how she wants to explore places like Australia, and I wouldn't be able to do that with her because of my wheelchair. I'll let her go on for a while to see if she'd ever bring it around to a normal person thought process, but it never happened. She lost her mind. About 8 months ago, Tinder date. She suggests brunch at Max Wine Dive on McKinney. We're in Dallas. I pick her up at the Arpeggio Apartments in Victory Park. She's not ready, so she buzzes me in. Her apartment is beautiful, lots of high dollar stuff, no roommate. We go to Max at 1 p.m. She drinks an entire bottle of champagne by herself. We leave, and in the car she says she wants to stop by a shop in West Village. I park in the parking garage and get out. I look for her and don't see her. I hear a noise, so I look around my car and she's squatting next to the wall peeing on the ground. We go into the shop. She takes a few dresses into the changing room and tells me to come over. I stand outside the changing room and she pulls me inside. She completely undresses, gets in the clothes, asks me what I think, undresses, gets in more clothes, etc. She takes about $1,500 worth of clothes to the counter and tells the cashier she really has to pee. Cashier says sorry. My date begs, so cashier relents and takes her into the back, but it's too late. The damage is done. She also buys a new pair of pants. On the way back to her apartment, she answers a call and starts talking in a foreign language that I can't place. Couldn't even guess the continent. She's very nervous and upset. She hangs up and tells me she has to go to her other apartment at the Cirque, also in Victory Park. She asks me to go in with her. We go into her apartment, which is also completely beautiful and belongs only to her. She has a badass telescope that I start playing with. In the mirror, I see her open a safe and put something in her purse. She tells me we need to leave and asks me to take her to my house. We go to my house and she instantly passes out. Stays passed out for about 6 hours. Wakes up, wants Dairy Queen. It's closed and she starts crying. I take her to Sonic. She gets a cheeseburger, a chili dog, cheese fries, and a sundae. We come home. She eats it and throws up. Passes out on my couch. I read and go to sleep. Next morning she asks if she can stay and watch football. I tell her I have plans and need to take her home. She says she can't go to either of her apartments. I tell her too bad, I have plans, and drop her off at Cirque. She texted asking when we could see each other again, but I never responded. What do you guys think was up with her? Just a trust fund baby going a bit too hard? Not mine, but my brother's. He lives at home with my mother still. So my brother met a chick on Tinder. Took her on a date, ended up bringing her home for a night, and then that was that. A few weeks later my mother went to the backyard and noticed the door to her camper was open. There was a bunch of clothes and a pair of forks Uggs boots that belonged to this chick. Turns out she had been sneaking into the camper at night and sleeping there and doing drugs. My brother had no idea of this, and my mom called the cops immediately, and it turns out the chick had a warrant out for her arrest. She's still in jail. Didn't happen to me, but a friend of mine started hooking up with this girl on Tinder about a year and a half ago. She wasn't very attractive, and he would always talk about how much he hated her, but I guess the sex was alright, because he kept seeing her. About 2 months into this, he decides he's going to end things with her and find a new bang buddy. Well, he heads over to her house to break up with her and is instead greeted with a girl telling him that she is pregnant and that it is his. First thing I tell him to do is to get a DNA test to make sure that it is in fact his kid. He insists that it is and doesn't get the test. He convinces her to put the baby up for adoption, but she decides pretty late into the pregnancy that she doesn't want to give up the baby and wants to raise it. Fast forward to a month ago, and my friend is stuck raising this kid with this girl he doesn't like. Well, I guess she didn't actually put my buddy down as the father on the baby's birth certificate and had been collecting money from the government for being a single mother or something, and the government wanted her to try and track down the father. That is how my friend found out that he might not actually be the father of the baby he's been raising. Still haven't heard back on whether he is or is not the father, but I hope for his sake that he isn't. Kids, if you're gonna hook up with someone you just met on the internet, wear a condom. Talk to a girl a few times. Set up a date. She calls me a couple hours before we are going to meet, saying she's busy doing something. Bullshit excuse. She cancels. At about 11 PM I get a text message that just says, "Can you come over?" or something similar. Being a mix of lonely and bored, I said what the hell, closed my self-sympathy pizza box, and hopped in my car. Halfway through the drive, I get another text that says, "Can you get me some food?" Sure. She wants a 20-piece chicken McNugget with extra BBQ sauce. Very specific. Super weird, but fine. Munches. Show up and she seems maybe drunk or something, so I give her the food, and she insists I stay, and we watch TV. She's watching the movie Powder. If you haven't seen the movie, it's super not date friendly. We make small talk. I have a beer. I'm not gonna push anything, because obviously the girl's got something going on, so I'm ready to bow out. The movie ends. She stands up and very bluntly says, "I'm going to bed. I don't know if I'm going to bang you or not, but you can stay if you want." She was cute, and I was eager, so why not see what happens? I hop in bed while she's in the bathroom. She comes into her bedroom, climbs on top of me, her hands on either side of my head. She leans in. I think she's going to start kissing my neck, and then I hear her start snoring. Very loudly. I'm dumbfounded. I lie there for a moment thinking about what I should do. This is interrupted by her ripping the hugest fart. Good night. Finally, started seeing a girl off Tinder. It was going well for about 2 weeks and thought she was pretty cool. Then things started getting weird. She used to always joke about killing me. I thought it was okay the first few times, but then it got annoying. I told her to stop, and she kept doing it. I don't know if it was because she thought it was funny, that it freaked me out, or what. Anyways, told me she has a shotgun in her room. Yikes. Long story short, I told her I didn't want to see her anymore. She didn't like that. For the next 3 weeks she's absolutely hounding me. Calls me constantly, shows up at my work asking for me, keeps coming over to my apartment. She actually knocked on my door for 30 minutes. When I didn't answer, she went around back and started knocking on my bedroom window. Got really concerned for a while, but eventually she gave up. My first and only Tinder date. I started talking to a cute guy. We hit it off really well. We'll call him Greg. Greg lived in a town nearly an hour away, so we texted for about 2 weeks before we decided to meet due to schedules. During this time, Greg consistently attempted to wow with his food knowledge. I work in the fine dining restaurant industry, often telling me about what meal he was cooking for him and his roommates each night. After several days of talking, he then asks me to come to his house so he will be able to cook for me. I oblige, figuring what's the worst that could happen. I've talked to him several times and felt okay about the whole situation. The day comes, and we meet somewhere neutral and I follow him to his house, all the while him explaining how excited he is to cook for me. We arrive at his place, everything is going really great. He's exactly as I pictured him, and his personality fits me perfectly. Dinner time rolls around, and he tells me he needs to go downstairs to begin prep. I become eager and say I'd love to help. He insists I stay on the couch and relax. We continue to talk across rooms and I can't see what's going on in the kitchen. He puts something in the oven and says it will be ready in just a bit and that he made extra in case I was hungry. 15 minutes later Greg leaps off the couch to a timer and runs to the kitchen. He brings sauces first, saying that they are the best part. He lays ketchup, ranch and BBQ sauce on the table. I begin to get confused, wondering what he made as he refused to tell me, announcing that he wanted to keep it a secret. Greg returns to the kitchen to retrieve the plates. He walks in and carries a turkey platter to the table. I gaze into what had to be no less than 3 bags of frozen fries he had displayed on a turkey platter for our dinner. He looks at me eagerly, awaiting my reaction for me to lose it. I begin uncontrollably laughing, and his smile drops as I say this is great, thank you, assuming this was a gag meal and he had prepared dinner to follow. No, Greg invited me to dinner to cook me his specialty, frozen French fries. They were delicious fries, and the sauce was the best part. That's it for today. Take care.